church started by a bunch of retirees and a children's pastor. It can only get better from here. Okay. I am honored to introduce our speaker today, who serves as head of schools at Sussex Christian School, and she's the executive director of the Christian Action Federation. She's a proud graduate of Bethany Bible College, now Kingswood, Philadelphia Biblical University, and Liberty University, where she received a Doctor of Education degree. Under her watch, SCS has seen phenomenal growth and is considered one of the major employers in the town of Sussex. I have had the great privilege of serving on the school board for many years, trying to be the best support that I can be through the highs and the lows. But I feel that my greatest contribution to her career and leadership journey occurred when I sent my son to her middle school classroom. She's laughing. This young woman arrived at the school in 1998 from Hatfields Point, still wet behind the ears, and Scott and his buddies made each day an interesting challenge and learning experience for her.
Amen.
Amen. I'll leave the rest to your imagination. However, I will say Rob was working at Sussex Wesleyan at the time, and he would get a little visit from Marsha or other teachers, usually every week or a couple times a week. Until finally one day he says to Marsha, "Listen, you don't have to come down here. You do whatever you need to do. If you want to throw out the window, throw out the window." She didn't do that. Why would we ask her to speak on Mother's Day? One reason is that she honors her mother and father and speaks often of their positive influence in her life. Secondly, listen to what she wrote on the dedication page of her doctoral dissertation. "My heart is filled with gratitude for the many students who have been part of my classroom and school for the extent of my career. My students have filled my life with their wonderful testimonies and have allowed me to be part of their faith-building journey." What an inspiration. And she even owns a cottage at Beulah. So let's give a warm grounds-flat welcome to Dr. Jochebed.
Oh wow, there's a lot I could say after that. Well, I for a long time I had Robert Marty's number memorized. I didn't even have to look it up. I just knew it. And then you have these students and you have challenges and all those things, and then you realize how bonded you've become through the challenges. And I remember when Colin and I needed to get our old farmhouse rewired, it was Scott that did it, and I thought, well, just like that, it all just comes around again. and I've put the wiring in his hands, and he came on the board for us for a number of years and served, and what a fine man he's grown into, but what fun we had in the early days. And I won't even talk about all of that. But so many friends that I've met coming through the door today. Eleanor, they never called me for a reference. That's too bad, because I'd have given a great one. But what amazing things to have some children as part of the Browns Flat Fellowship, and to see that growth, and that's just, it's amazing. It warms my heart. I'm excited to be here. I have a number of things that I want to share with you about the school. I'm assuming that everybody here knows where Sussex is. And if you've been traveling out on the highway on Route 1, hopefully you've seen our sign at the old Fairway property, now the Sussex Christian School property up there with JJ's Diner. And a lot of people wondered what was going on with all of that. I wondered myself some days, but the Lord put in our heart to expand. We had a great problem. We had too many kids for the size building that we had, and we needed to think about a variety of things that we wanted to bring around the life of the school. And so I want to take you through a little bit of a timeline, if you'll allow me to do that this morning, about the school. In April 2023, we launched a capital campaign to purchase the Fairway Inn and JJ's property. So that means that I went over and talked to the fine folks at the Fairway with an empty briefcase, and my purse was empty. There wasn't any money in it. We didn't have anything but a dream and a call from the Lord to say, would you go on this journey with us? And they agreed prior to April 2023. And the first, we needed to raise $3 million for that project. Well, the Christian school had raised about somewhere in the range of maybe $50,000 a year up to that point, maybe $50,000. So $3 million was a huge thing for us to start out on. We had one donor that came ahead of us, that came ahead of the project, who said, well, Marsha, we'll give the first $500,000 and then to match. And when you match it, you'll have the first $1 million. And so we worked hard and started out with that April 2023. October 2024, we purchased that property, raising $3 million the Lord allowed in cash and pledges. Not cash and prizes like the Price is Right, but cash and pledges. So money's still yet to come in, but it was enough that we had in hand that we were able to purchase October 2024. So I say it this way. We said October 2024, we bought the fairway. And then about summertime, I thought, we bought the fairway. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, it meant all kinds of things, and for about 8 months, I had to learn the motel business. But anyway, March 2025, we secured the bank funding to do the apartments that would be part of the whole vision. So we took one of the buildings and made 13 seniors apartments. But from October to March, there was a lot of praying. We thought the bank funding would come in much sooner, and it didn't come in until March. But once it did, then we could start construction, and it finished October 2025. Now the apartments are full. The dorm is open, so the 2-story building that was once hotel is now dormitory and / Airbnb sometimes. JJ's rents space from the school. Mark and Faith Jenkins stayed on to run the restaurant. And a percentage of sales goes to help to underwrite the costs of the property. So this is the good news. If you stop at JJ's for a burger and a shake, there's actually a percentage goes to the Christian school.
Nice.
Best fundraiser ever. December 2024, we took a look at the property that was across the road. Somebody whispered in my ear and said, Marsha, if you went over to the dairy farmer building across the road and made a pitch, you might be able to get something going to be able to buy that property for classroom space, which was a shift from the original plan. But anyway, also with an empty briefcase, I went over and started to talk to them. And December 2024, we made the initial pitch to start a whole chain of events. And then in August 2025, the purchase of the dairy farmer building was made, 8 acres. And our original plan to have classrooms on the fairway side of the street was changed to put them across the road, and it was actually less expensive for us to buy that property and to start thinking through the renovations. And we had a donor come with us on that gave us a good amount to put down towards it. Currently, we're waiting to start construction next month, and this will be our classroom building for our high school. Between the 2 properties, the Rocheville campus will be 15.5 acres, with 13 seniors apartments, the restaurant, 30 dorm rooms, event space, and this is all for the Sussex Christian High School project.
Nice.
So that we would have a standalone high school for students, dormitories to serve them, and all of that. We're still raising money for all this to get it to a comfortable level, so when you drive on Route 1 and you see that sign, please pray for us. Pray for everything that goes on with the school, and also for funds that we're looking to raise. So far we've raised, including pledges, about $3.8 million, and we need to raise about 1.6 additional. This year we saw 70 high school students through that new campus, with 21 of them getting ready to graduate in 3 weeks.
Nice.
Our K-8 meets at our founding church Encounter. Used to be Sussex Wesleyan. You know, everyone hides their denominational stripes these days, so hopefully we'll know they're Wesleyans by their entire sanctification. But here we have 150 students K-8. In total, K-12, we have 230 students this year at Sussex Christian School. In the meantime, we had applied for 2 grants to add on to our early learning programs, Sussex Christian School Little Lights and Mini Lights and Shine After School. Darlene, glad you're here today. Darlene started way back, our original, really championed our early learning. So in December 2023, these grant applications were made for 98 new learning spaces for these children. We received word March 2024, we got the grants, and work began at the Atlantic Community Church there in Avahock. November 2020, They're a Baptist church, by the way. Atlantic Community Church are a Baptist church, and you know by how big their Bible is going into the service. But the center opened April 2025, that center, and then work began on Trinity Anglican for the second grant. Now, the Anglicans just put it right in there. They're just right out with it. We know what they are. But the Trinity Anglican, we started construction July 2025, and it was completed and opened December 2025. So in the end, 230 students K-12, 180 children in early learning, 100 after-school children, for a total of almost 500 different kids daily being ministered to in the Sussex area for faith. And then, and this is no joke, and then I had a heart attack. And I'm telling heart attack jokes now, Eleanor. I'm far enough along to tell jokes. I really did. At the very end of all of that, that's what happened. And I think the Lord knew I needed a good rest. I know, you're all thinking she looks too young to have a heart attack. Exactly, I am. And I kept telling the nurses that, and the cardiologist, and everybody I could see. But that was part of my journey. But an amazing thing amazing things that the Lord is doing. Like, He's just been opening doors for us to run through. And sometimes we get to something and it seems like, this seems insurmountable, and then the Lord will open the doors and carry on. But we have an amazing staff. We have 100 people on the payroll. I can't believe when I signed off on payroll now how many folks there are. We have some people in here, actually. Aaron's here, Eleanor's Aaron, and Glenn's Aaron works for us in the Little Lights, and we're just so pleased to be able to impart faith. We have in our early learning centers, we have chapel as once a week as part of that, the after-school program, a devotional component, and then of course the Christian school. And what does a year in Christian school mean for a student? Well, about 150 Bible classes, about 40 chapel services, Christian teachers, prayer daily, makes an impact. Yes. All of these remarkable things had been swimming in the last 3 years, and then the Lord did one more amazing thing I want to share with you. In June, I received a text message. It amazes me how much business we can do over a text message these days. But here's what the text message said. Marsha, how much would it cost to buy 50 seats at your school? Well, I was a little dumbfounded by that. I asked a few questions. What do you mean? Actual chairs? Or actual places? No, actual places for students. So I sent back a number and I said, well, and I did the math. This is basically what it would be. And they wrote back and said, well, how about 25? I said, well, you have to divide by 2. So there had been a controversy in what is my community over in Belial, in the school, in the public school. And this donor wanted to make it available for students to be able to have the pathway to Sussex Christian. And so we started out, this was June last year in July. Nobody ever thinks about enrolling kids in school in July. You can't find anybody in July. But we had an information meeting based on this donor, and at least 50 plus people showed up, wanted to talk about their kids coming to Sussex Christian School. In the end, we enrolled, I think the number was 35 that would come on part of that they would be enrolled, and 80% of their tuition would be covered by a donor. Wow. That's over $150,000. We had to buy more buses. We had to hire bus drivers. We had to hire more staff. The list went on of the things that we needed to do. And now, the middle of May, I think we've pretty well survived the acclimating of so many new students into the life of the school. The donors announced to those families that they will do it again for the kids in this next year. And the parents wrote letters to the donor. The donor was anonymous, but they wrote letters to talk about their experience. I'd like to read you one of those letters today, if you'll let me, because I think it really indicates the difference when you come around young people and with imparting faith and what that means. To whom it may concern. Thank you for providing us the opportunity to share how the Belial Valley Bursary has positively impacted our son's education and his overall well-being. Since starting at SCS, we have seen remarkable improvements both in his grades and his happiness. Access to this opportunity has not only eased the financial burden on our family, but has also provided an environment that best suits his academic growth and his personal character development. He is thriving at school. When we received his first report card, we were genuinely surprised. His marks were higher than they'd ever been. His favorite subjects are history and Bible. And the amount of knowledge he has gained, particularly in Bible studies, is incredible. He truly loves it. He is engaged, motivated, and always striving to get better marks with each semester that passes. The small class size works well for him, and the support he receives from teachers is unlike anything he's experienced before. They have taken the time to understand his strengths, challenges, and learning style, which give him confidence. We believe the learning atmosphere at SCS provided a strong moral principle for respect and for the community. It's exactly what he needed to succeed. He has benefited greatly from being in a setting where faith-based values are woven daily into learning, helping him build integrity, compassion, and a sense of purpose. We feel these qualities are essential not only for his academic success, but for becoming a responsible and caring member of the community. He's had the opportunity to join sports teams and chess club. He's made many new friends, one he describes as the best friend he's ever had. Considering his struggles last year in school, he dreaded going each day, and we're so impressed at his newfound enjoyment. He tells us he never wants to leave SCS. We would also like to share, now this is really important, we would also like to share that the faith-based education he has received at SCS has helped him navigate one of the most difficult seasons of his life. With the loss of his friend and loved one, and we had a tragedy in our community where a young man, 21, lost his life. The biblical knowledge and understanding of God's promises that he has learned at SCS have been a source of comfort and strength during this heartbreaking time, and we cannot express how much it means to our family. These letters, sort of go on, and we're just so pleased to know that this service is there for these families. But I thought it might just indicate that one family, that one child, the difference that it would make. This young man is 12 years old, just to give you some framework. So it's just been a whirlwind. We have a lot of kids. We're an open enrollment school. We have kids who come who are not from Christian backgrounds, many who do. One of the things that we initiated on our Fairway campus with the high school kids this year is they've been doing an Alpha program at noontime. And so they've been really able to get the introduction that they need to faith. Well, what does all this have to do with Mother's Day? Well, we practice something in education. It used to be really well known that this was something, if you studied education, you heard this over and over again. The Latin term loco parentis, meaning in place of the parent. So the teacher and the educator is in this very important role of being locus parentis. If you're a school teacher or principal, you're acting in the best interest of the child's safety and good health. In a Christian school, you're also acting in the best interest of the Christian parent and the values being taught. A Christian school in no way wants to take the place of the parent, but to come alongside and provide support and provide a gospel-infused education. Amen. I've worked with many mothers over the years, and I thought about this yesterday and kind of smiled. I thought I've worked with Canadian mothers, I've worked with American mothers. That might sound funny to you, but being in Sussex and next to Kingswood University, we have a lot of folks that come up from the U.S., but with our international program, I've worked with Chinese mothers and Korean mothers and Japanese mothers, and there's so many things that, of course, all of these wonderful moms have in common. We literally have hundreds of mothers that roll onto our campuses every morning now, dropping kids off, putting their baby or little one in the hands of an educator, walking them into kindergarten, hugging them goodbye at the door of first grade, trying to hug them in grade 6, and then they push away. And then, my very favorite is by the time they enter high school, the mothers go into witness protection. And you can't find them. I was always happy to go to Robert because I could never find Marty. But these partnerships between the mothers and the educators, the partnership is deep. The trust goes unmatched. These children, of course, are all of these moms' prized possessions. I've had the opportunity to do significant traveling overseas and recruiting families and getting to know the families and the moms who send them halfway, literally around the world, to go to school. This morning, I want us to look at Exodus chapter 2. A very interesting childhood from a very amazing leader who would become a very amazing leader. If you look at Exodus chapter 2, we're going to read a few verses. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. And when she saw he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got the basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. If you're like me and you've been raised in church, you've done some kind of Sunday school project about this basket. And I don't know about you, but at about 4 years old, I'm thinking this was not a good idea to put your baby in a basket. Okay? You're making the basket, you're coloring the picture, and you're thinking, I don't know about this. And the Sunday school teacher's sure about it, but you're not sure. But it's such an amazing story. His sister, so then she placed the child in it, put it among the reeds along the Nile River. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Imagine the sister, how terrified she was. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it, saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? You've got to wonder if mom coached her on that, don't you? Or did she come up with that herself? Yes, go, she answered. So the little girl went, got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby, nurse him for me, and I will pay you. This is the first child tax credit. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, and she named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. Here are these two ladies, Jochebed and Pharaoh's daughter. Jochebed, Moses' biological mother, she roots him in his heritage, teaches him who his people are, including their faith. She actually is going to provide the very nourishment for him to live. She gave him his start, his roots. Yet his life with her was completely in danger. He could not stay with her. But she does what she can. She turns him over, the scriptures say, to Pharaoh's daughter. What could Pharaoh's daughter do for Moses? She can provide safety, a covering of safety. Give him the tools he would need to be a leader. Moses' own mother can do nothing of the sort, right? She doesn't have the training. She doesn't have the education. She's not in a position to be able to provide this. He was raised in the palace, in the court. He was raised to feel comfortable with the top leadership of the country. He was given the status of prince, not his born birthright, but given this because of the covering of her. And these two blended backgrounds gave Moses everything he would need to have the complete package to lead his people out of Egypt. I'm not sure that we plan to draw any babies out of baskets down here at the St. John River, or that it takes two women necessarily to raise one baby. The story is unique, but I think there's a lot that we can draw from it. I think of the old saying, it takes a village. Children are impressionable. It's important who their influences are, and this is why really 27 years ago I wandered into Sussex Christian School. Steve Bradley thinks he hired me. I think I hired him. But, I don't know, potato. But I wandered in, kind of looking to see what might be around and thinking about, this calling of influencing children. And it's so very important for all of us to consider. I think we can all play a role in setting a stage for influencing the next generation. God's calling you all as a congregation. Elmer's going to get you fired up. I can promise you that. She's going to come to you. There's going to be stuff she's going to need, and she's going to be asking you to do it. Right? We never get to retire from being an influencer. We say now the next gen pastors. That's how we put it. That's the new phrase. I like that. But as Christians, we're all next gen leaders in some way. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I love about this story, as a woman who doesn't have children, for me, the story of Moses reminds me that we all have to have our ears open to hear the baby crying in the basket, and how can we partner with the mother to lift this child?
Yeah, that's good.
That's been God's calling on my life personally. That to be that other component. To say, how can we partner with this family? How can I partner with this mother? I told you I should get a whole degree on working with mothers, because I've worked with a lot of mothers. And sometimes on frustrating days, I say, you're all the same. Always eyes on your child. You know, and when you're administrator of a school, you've got to get eyes on everybody collectively, right? But a mother just has eyes for her child in the classroom. I had a little niece that I have taken to school. She graduates this year. I started to take her when she was 4 years old. And when she went into kindergarten, I would always kind of get downstairs and get peeking in the classroom and seeing how she was doing. And I laughed at myself one day, and I thought, oh yeah, that's how the mothers feel. I get it. One day I heard her say in a little play group, she said, I want to be the principal. They're playing school. I want to be the principal because the principal's a girl. And I thought, oh, you go, Selena. That's good. But you know, that's our calling, is to come alongside and to support. I love how our international moms, our moms that we've worked with overseas, I've gotten to know many of them over the years. And a lot of people say to me, you know, how can somebody send their child halfway across the world to go to school? I couldn't do it. And in our culture, in our context, yeah, probably you couldn't, or you know, the person speaking to me probably couldn't. But these moms are sending them forward for something else, for something. It's like they're sending them to another country. They're sending them to get a pathway to a Canadian university, maybe to Canadian immigration, which they see as helping strengthen their opportunities. And I think about this story of Moses, and Moses' mother having to come from her station in life and having to think about passing him over to Pharaoh's daughter. And yet there would be something in her that would know this was opportunity for him. Maybe having no idea how amazing the opportunity would be for all of them as a people. You know, I think it's so amazing. Colin and I, one of my jokes, if you've got time for one of my Wesleyan jokes, is that I'm actually Baptist, but I graduated from Kingswood, and I have a cottage at Beulah, and that's my second Wesleyan blessing. The cottage at Beulah. There's a few old school folks in the crowd. You can get it. But we bought 10 years ago, 11 years ago, bought a cottage here at Beulah. We come and mow the lawn and try to come for Beulah Week. Otherwise, you don't see us a lot. Hopefully more this summer. I'll have my feet up a little more this summer, I hope. But one of the things when we purchased at Beulah Camp, one of the things we loved about it was the atmosphere, and that we would be able to invite kids from our family to come and stay at our cottage and take part in what happens on the grounds. And you know, all these volunteer days, like Colin and I are like the worst cottage owners for volunteering. We just don't have any time to be part of that. But yet, for those of you that do, and that you're creating those spaces for families to come, I love to see the families come into the tabernacle and the wagons and these little kids, and they're crying and they're running, and the mothers, you know, got all the things in her purse and she's trying to do all the things. But what an amazing opportunity. Not everybody is Eleanor who is going to work directly with the kids, but for whatever it is that you could do to help make those spaces for young people and young families to come to help their family nurture in faith.
Yes.
We have 2 little great nephews that have stayed with us, going to be 3 this summer. But 2 little great nephews that came and stayed with us the last 2 summers. And when they went home after Beulah last summer, they played tabernacle all the rest of the summer. They gather up their things and they're going to tabernacle, and I know your kids and grandkids the same. It's foundational for the next generation of the church to help mothers do their job. This is such a hard job now. It's always been a hard job, but it's an exceptionally hard job, I think, now, with the influences of technology and things that are pressing in our culture. All the moms need all of us to help, the grandparents, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, all of us. Beulah's that time apart, and anything the church can do to help build in. Anything we can do as aunts and uncles, grandparents, friends, neighbors. You know, I said to Marty the other day, I noticed she and Robert they'd gone back to the minivan. And I thought, gee, Marty, like, you guys haven't driven a minivan for a few years. And I said, well, you know, the grandchildren, I mean, Robert could be driving around in a sports car, his hair blowing in the wind. and instead, they've got the minivan, right? So they got room for the grandkids, can pick them up and do stuff. Marty had them for about 5 days last week, and she frantically texted me and said, "When's the kids eat free at JJ's? What day is that?" I said, "Good for you, Marty." The investment is so important. It's eternal. It's eternal. Not everyone lives close to their grandkids. Not everyone has grandkids. But everybody can be involved in some way. Ask him this week how you can be involved, helping make spaces for young people. Part of it will be that volunteer time. You know, it's a whole list of tasks, I'm sure, things that you've got to be done around the campground that don't seem maybe all that ministry focused. And yet, if they're preparing for those young families to come, it's very much ministry focus. It's calling all of us. We just need to find out where. A special Mother's Day to all the mums. I have had a whole career working with mums, and it has been my pleasure and blessing to be that person who's able to come alongside and help and listen, maybe coach a bit and support in the areas that I know about, things that are part of my preview. But it's just, this is a special day honoring moms and honoring what it is that they do. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you after. So Sharon, are you coming to close out?